recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. According to the U.S. Geological Survey's 2017 Mineral Commodity Summaries report, the U.S. currently is 100% import dependent on some 20 minerals and about 50% import dependent on another 30% or 30 different minerals. And many of these, graphite, for example, quartz crystal, they're very important to manufacturing high-tech things from what we use in our phones to computer chips and on and on. So Ms. Sweeney, let me ask you, can you explain why we are so import dependent on minerals that are extremely critical to particularly high-tech manufacturing?
Yes, thank you for that question. I do think, going back to one of my previous answers, I think that the permitting delays here in the United States do create a disincentive for investment here, and that does impact our import reliance, as do large-scale, unwarranted withdrawals of federal lands, also impact our import reliance. We do have an amazing abundance of minerals here in the U.S. It's just that the opportunities to get those out of the ground and into the marketplace are burdensome.
I think your answer is spot on, and I appreciate that. There are barriers that appear to me largely unnecessary. The permitting process, as you specifically referenced, takes 7 to 10 years here in the United States as compared to countries like Canada and Australia, 2 to 3 years. Why is that the case? Why is there such a discrepancy between the U.S. and other countries?
You know, that's a really interesting question, because the environmental standards in Canada and Australia are very similar to the ones that we have here. What we found is it's often bureaucracy. It is more than one agency involved, and you have to get them to coordinate and cooperate. It's not just one permit you need to operate a mine. It can be as many as 40 permits. So there are a lot of different steps and a lot of different moving parts. But if there was better coordination up front and establishment of some timeframes for the permitting process up front, I do think we could achieve what Canada and Australia have done.
Okay, so you've put your finger on what I think it'd be fair to say is a bureaucratic mess, is what we have compared to other countries around the world. Is that fair to characterize it that way?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a bureaucratic mess, all right? The issue, therefore, is what is necessary in order to either get around or to change or alter the bureaucratic mess that we have in this country in such a way that we can compete with others around the world in this space. So I'll begin with you, and if we have time, I'd like to hear from any other panelists. What's it going to take to eradicate the bureaucratic mess?
I think that it's a matter of we don't have enabling policies in the U.S. As people were speaking earlier, you know, China has aggressively set policies in place to allow them to get the minerals they need when they get them. I'm not saying we should necessarily do everything that China's doing, but it's something that we have to look to our policies that will help us promote our domestic mining. And I do think permitting timeframes should be number one on that list. Not permitting shortcuts, but just having everybody coordinate up front, have stakeholder engagement up front so decisions can actually be made.
And if there's 40 some odd different agencies, I mean, somehow that ought to be consolidated.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else have some thoughts, some ideas? Well, you answered in behalf of everyone, Ms. Sweeney, and obviously a good job with that. But I thank you very much, and thank each of our panelists for being here today. And with that, Mr. Chairman.